Alright, hello everyone, my name is Ryan Lane and welcome to my review channel. So for today's review I will be discussing Last Night in Soho, directed by Edgar Wright and starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomas Mackenzie. So anyway, in this film Thomas Mackenzie plays Ellie, a recently admitted student to the College of Fashion in London. And well, simply put, she's got some things on her hand. She's got some trauma from her mother who passed away when she was young, and the city of London is a tad overwhelming. So much so that when she goes to bed at night, the visions she gets of a previous life lived by a woman by the name of Sandy, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, is far more enticing. So I get one thing that really stands out about this film is that even before the supernatural revisits to the past of the 60s starts, you can obviously tell this movie is going to blur the lines between reality and dreams. As the film compresses the time and space with transitions not necessarily requiring to go from point A to B to get to C, as in sometimes it's just A to C. Like, for example, the characters will start off in one room, then the lights will turn out, then the lights turn back on, and they're in another room at another building. That's sort of what the film goes for with some of its visuals, and the visuals get nuttier than after that. And the supernatural elements themselves. The film makes the wise decision not to over-explain them. A lesser film would have way over-explained the visuals. This film, thankfully, uses a lot of visuals to establish how the dream sequences work, which it never fully lays down rules, which for this film works perfectly fine. Other films, might have required a more narrowed down set of rules, but again, due to the dreamlike nature of the film, it can get away with more abstract rules, or rather a lack thereof. And the soundtrack and cinematography are really great. They enhance the mood of every scene they're in. It's an Edgar Wright movie. At this point, if an Edgar Wright movie doesn't have a good soundtrack, cinema is dead as we know it. And so thankfully he chooses a lot of 60s songs that you likely will never heard of. These aren't just the generic 60s songs you hear in every film to establish that it's the 60s. That's a really nice thing about this movie. And so I guess one thing I personally like about this film is it portrays the overwhelming and potentially isolating nature of college. Like, there are many people like Thomas Mackenzie's character who feel just very isolated and very overwhelmed by college, especially if they're going away out of state, city, you name it. I really appreciated that aspect. I guess if I had some critiques, or at least a critique, it's that the characters from the 60s timeline feel a tad underdeveloped. Thankfully, obviously they're not the focus of the film. They're secondary characters who, Sandy, but if a little bit more detail, I think, would have benefited them. Thankfully, the cast is able to act through any slight shortcomings in the script, and sort of it all comes together to deliver one, as I personally like to call it, a nightmare with a killer soundtrack. So, I guess with that in mind, I will be grading Last Night in Soho 4 out of 5 stars. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.